presented by Vyas Media Network.
Is this what comes to your mind? Like, I'm sure, we are making it sound all easy peasy, but I'm sure, like, even for you, you must be having challenges, on an everyday basis, or even if not every day, sometimes you must be like going through some challenges.
Of course, of course. Especially the first time around, it was not as, how we see it out to be on social media and It's not as easy because for me, delivery was easy. Pregnancy was not so easy, but delivery was easy.
Yeah.
But post delivery, the hardest journey I had to take on was breastfeeding.
Yeah.
For some random reason, I thought the baby's just going to pop out and then the milk is going to start coming and the baby's going to latch and be a pop. It didn't happen, okay? Literally.
Yeah.
1 month I was turning the air here and there and everywhere trying to get her to latch, because I was lactating. I mean, I would have given a bottle also. That's also not a problem. But I was lactating like a cow, okay? My boobs were swollen up until here. So I needed her to drink. I needed her to come out, right?
Yeah.
I was pumping. And even pumping not made it worse, made it better, I guess. More milk was coming out, but the baby was not latching. So 1 month I struggled desperately with this breastfeeding. Yeah. So that was the most difficult part. But other than that, not that. That was the main challenge, I think.
And then you went on to breastfeed for like so long, right?
Yeah,
I remember you were like, I'm still breastfeeding. And
I am still breastfeeding even right now.
Even
My
right
second baby, right? He's almost 2. Dia, I breastfed almost 3 years.
Yeah. I remember what you told me that time when because I think it was close to the time when I had my child and I had started my breastfeeding journey.
Okay. I said something. I give what not gyan everywhere. Then people say, I remember you said this to me. I'm like, what did I say?
So that's a good thing, no? Like something you're saying so randomly is like people are holding on to it.
Huh?
I remember you said that, you know what, it's just like 2 or 3 years of her life, of my life. And for her, it's going to be like a lifelong gift that I give her.
Absolutely.
It's going to help build her immunity. And
Absolutely.
and you were like, it's not much for me to do this much for 3 years of my life.
I know, right? 3 years is so little. And now looking back at Dia, that went by so fast.
Yeah.
In fact, even for Dravya right now, I'm still breastfeeding. I don't think of it as difficult or anything. It just goes by.
Yeah. I think it's not the way you're saying it. Now I'm starting to think it's not that you don't have challenges, or it's just that, your perception towards those challenges are very different. So maybe each time you have something come up, maybe, you see it as not a challenge and
I just see
goes by.
What needs to be done needs to be done. There's no two ways about it. If I need to feed my kid, I need to feed my kid. I might be partying somewhere, but then it's time to go back home. It's time to go back home. I don't feel like, oh no, now, now everyone else is going to have so much more fun. I wish I could dance a little longer,
Yeah.
I mean, I never have that. My cutoff time used to be like 11. So I'll go party wherever. By the time it's 11, I need to be back home, feed my baby turn. I don't think about the opportunity cost per se. I don't think about what I'm missing out. Maybe I could have done something in my career. Maybe my body would have looked a certain way if I wasn't doing this. I don't look at that. What's in front of me is my baby, the most important person in my life, right? So that's my priority.
Yeah, I remember even about your body, like that time, because you were breastfeeding, you were eating a lot, and you were telling me, I'm not worried because it's so easy for me to lose this weight also. I am going to lose it eventually.
Exactly.
You were like, I live breastfeeding, Gardata, let me, eat whatever I want and how much ever I want. Like.
And the thing, again, like as much as I love my kids, I love food also. So I would, even when I am losing weight, I don't give up on food, right?
Yeah.
So I think even losing weight is not that difficult. Again, that might be a challenge for someone.
For most of us, it seems like you're taking everything like, very
lightly, and also because just till the time I lose weight, let's say 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I don't constantly think about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, I am bigger, fatter, bulkier, bulging everywhere, and that's fine. I will still wear all my tight dresses and, whatever I want to do, I'll do it and feel good about it. So, yeah. I think I don't have this one standard, for myself, for my kids. So what is the priority at the moment? I just focus on that.
Yeah. I think, there's also like no FOMO.
No FOMO.
That so you're living very much in the moment with your children.
Yeah.
Like you're taking it like moment by moment.
Yes.
If you're out, you're enjoying. If you have
Absolutely.
to be back home, you're enjoying that as well. That is one thing like I feel nowadays most of us miss out on, living in the moment with our children. And in fact, I have been thinking about this a lot over the last few months as to how, a lot of moms also have this mom guilt. So when they are at work, they are, like, oh no, I'm not with my child and I'm not giving enough time to my child. And when they are with their children, they're like, oh no, I can do so much, but I'm stuck here at home.
I don't understand this mentality. I mean, I'm glad I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand it, I don't feel it. A lot of it is said about mom guilt, and here and there I do feel a little bit guilty here and there, but nothing strong enough to feel like guilty.
So what do you like? How do you think if somebody else also like had to go on this path of being in the moment and move away from that guilt and just do what they are doing and enjoy life, take it lightly? What?
I think the most important thing we need is self-awareness. Why are we doing the things we're doing? Prioritizing stuff, and then knowing that if your mind is in the right place, your heart is in the right place, whatever you're doing is the right thing. So then everything else will just fall into place. I don't know if it's like one, suddenly when you're a mom, you become like this.
Yeah.
For me, it's been quite a journey as a person that I've evolved over my thinking into not feeling FOMO or, stuff like that. But I don't know how should I give tips.
So I think
it's a difficult one.
It's a difficult one, right? So that brings me to the point. Like I keep talking about how in order to be a better parent, you just need to be a better person.
Absolutely, it all boils down to that.
Yeah. So you just keep working on yourself. Like it's not so much about the child, but about yourself, and automatically.
And also, we are all striving for too much.
Yeah.
Like we are trying to be the greatest career woman based on the standards of what other people think a good career is. We're trying to be the greatest mom based on the standards that what the world thinks what a good mom looks like, or a good daughter what that looks like, or a good wife what that looks like. And that standard is impossible to meet. I feel I need to be a good mom to 2 kids. That's it. Not to you, not to
not to anybody else.
I'm not answerable to anybody. Even that 2 kids, right? I need to be a good wife to 1 person. I need to be a good daughter to 2 people. Like I need to be a good sibling to 2 people. Like if you just bring that down, it's so easy to be a good wife to 1 guy.
Yeah.
Right? So easy to be a good mom to 2 kids. I don't need to be a good mom for the world. So when that is the focus, then I need to be happy with that. So if some other mom is like a great mom to her kid in a different way than I am to mine, that doesn't bother me. Because I'm the best mom to my kids.
Yeah. As long as your children feel that, then it doesn't matter what the world thinks.
Yeah.
I think this sort of comparison or like a complex also tends to come around a lot with social media. So
absolutely,
when we see everybody's and usually we tend to put a lot of good parts on social media, right?
Of course.
We don't end up putting our challenges or we don't share those so much. We share so much of like,
the fun times and the easier times.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. So then what the world is seeing is like, her life as a mother is going so smooth, or she's, doing it so easily. Why can't I? And even looking at our friends and our peer groups, we just keep feeling that, oh, like she's working also. She's, with her kids also. She's socializing also. She's able to do everything.
But now everybody knows how social media works.
Exactly.
Like, how you do it, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same for everybody else.
Yeah.
So if you're still putting yourself up for comparison based on social media, you're putting yourself up for disappointment. And I think that is like a really stupid thing to do, right? So if you cannot filter this information, you really need to start. If social media is making you feel jealous or insecure or incompetent or lesser or, not worthy, then you really need to do a lot of internal thinking that आजको day and age ma, if we do that to ourselves, we're just setting ourselves up for disappointment. That's for sure.
And not just social media. Then we'll be doing it everywhere. Like the moment we meet a friend, we'll be like, oh no, like.
I think this comparison culture is so deep rooted. I think in our communities, in our society. Luckily for me, maybe it's also I have to give credit to my parents for their parenting. Also, I was never compared to anybody else, so maybe it doesn't come to me naturally to compare myself to anyone else, because that's the foundation that I grew up with, right? And also maybe I was always the good kid, the better kid. So maybe
they never had to compare.
Exactly. Maybe people were being compared to me. I don't know about that. But my mom never showed me anybody said, look, this one is doing better than you. Nobody was. Let's just say I got lucky with that foundation. So comparison doesn't come to me.
This is funny because
I just said maybe. I mean, that's the truth.
No, you don't have to be modest. You can just say it out.
I'm stuck.
So this is funny because a few months back, somebody asked me that, when your parents compared you to other people, how did you feel? And I was just like, what do you mean? And for that person, it was so obvious that, our parents compare each other.
Exactly.
And for me, it was the first time I was hearing something like that. And then I started thinking, because I wanted to help her out in the conversation we were having. And I started thinking back and I was like, oh my God, like my parents never compared me. And she was in shock. She was like, what? Your parents never compared you? And then it all sort of summed down for me. I'm like, no wonder,
So now you understand the importance of parents and what they do to your child for the rest of our life. So maybe I'm able to be a good parent. I'm able to be a fulfilled human being without, FOMO or without... Because that was the foundation, or that was the upbringing that they gave me, right?
But that's the thing, no, that... how are parents, you say that like you just have to be good parents to two children. You don't have to, compare with the rest of the world. But how do I as a parent even know, what is it that I'm doing right with my child, or what is it that I'm not doing? And, like we just discussed, that it can have such a deep impact to
for the rest of their life.
For the rest of your life, right?
Absolutely.
Especially the first few years. So how do you know, what's right and what's not?
I think most parents are just winging it, okay? And some get it good, some otherwise. But more importantly, there's so much material and information out there. So I think being conscious really helps. Like every time I say something, I do something, how I react to, or sometimes, of course, I get angry and mad. And then I read about, like the consequences or what kind of impacts it could make. And then I change my behavior. Okay, I change my actions, not to say, oh, म त यसरी हुर्केको के भयो त म त ठिकै छु त मैले त पिटा खाएर हुर्केको के भयो त I turned out great, or हाम्रो आम्बोले त यस्तो गर्थ्यो के भयो त यिनीहरूलाई पनि गर्छु. So if you stay in this mentality of के भयो त,
I hear that a lot all the time.
Absolutely.
And especially from my friends, like
के भयो तिमीले देख्छौ, then after that, right? And के भयो, even you haven't been able to see in yourself के भयो, So if you don't have that much self-awareness, is for sure you're going to pass it down generations after generations. So just taking a step back, and instead of saying somebody did this, I'll also do it, you try and act upon your actions. Okay, if this can make this impact on my child, I need to change. I need to learn. I need to grow. As a parent, you can't just become, suddenly I gave birth and I become everything. Now I'm the master of your life type attitude. When you go with that, then you're going to screw your kid's life. That's what I think. So I say I want to be a good parent to two kids, but to be a good parent, I read so much. I work on myself. I think about it. I look at my actions. I change my actions. I ask feedback from my child. I ask her, how do you feel when I said that? I apologize. I say, sorry, that was not how it should be. Please, next time, remind me, okay? And they will, right? So if you let that growing together kind of environment be there, then you can grow as a parent, as a human. There's so much learning in parenthood.
I feel this is the sort of thing that as parents we miss out on when we see our friends or other moms. We miss out on what they are doing in the background. And coming back to you, like as a social media influencer, you put up a lot of stories about your children, about your daily life. Like you're pretty much documenting your daily life. Do you think there should be, not to like say that you're not doing enough already to inspire a lot of people, but do you think there should be that other side of it also, that every time you're reading a book, like this is what I'm doing to work on myself as a mother, so that people can also realize that it's not something that just you are constantly working on yourself. It's not something that just comes about.
Absolutely. I mean, with my Instagram, I have a very different take on my Instagram, right? Stories, I keep it very light. I don't put out like political stuff and even religious stuff and all of like even maybe activism and stuff like that. I try to limit it a little bit, even though I know I have a responsibility towards that. The social media posts, I do write a lot. And of course, I write, like, if you read my posts, I write long stories of when I go through difficult times with my children also. So I do post that. That's definitely lesser than the good times, because the other agenda is, of course, for people to know that motherhood is beautiful and there's nothing to be scared of. And there's almost this some I don't know, some not negativity, but like some fear
around
motherhood. And young girls are like, oh, I don't like babies. Oh, they're so difficult. It's going to take away from my life. And I see that, and that can't be far from the truth. So, I mean, there's that part also. So I think, in a way, me living my life the way I do is also sort of an advocacy to people.
No, that's very true. That's very true. I get like, sometimes I get nightmares about having a second kid. Not because I find motherhood that difficult or anything, but I personally just feel that I can take care of one child, and I want to have only one child. But the way you are saying that there's a lot of fear around motherhood, which is...
There's fear around marriage, there's fear around, family, there's fear around motherhood, there's fear around babies, and those are the last things you should be fearing, right?
Yeah,
those are the things that you should want in your life, because it really fulfills you in a human way. Because everything else, I mean, of course, your career is important. All of that is important. But material stuff and money and fame and recognition and all of these, enjoyment or whatever is great, but it doesn't fulfill you in the way that humans do. At least for me.
Same here. Like I think like there's no greater gift than being a mother. And it's not just, it just does not stop there. It also makes like doing everything else so much more easier. Because when I get really tired and then I come back home, it's so easy to de-stress with my child. I sometimes use him like as a de-stress. I'm like, as a therapy. And even while I'm at work and I can feel the tiredness creep onto me, I'm like, okay, now, I'm looking forward to go home and just playing with him. So I feel for me personally, it makes doing other things in my life a lot more easier.
Absolutely. That's a nice way to look at it.
Yeah. So why do you think this fear is there? And it wasn't there earlier. Earlier, like being a parent was something that came so naturally, and mothers in general were so accepting of it. And back then, even fathers didn't play as much of a role as mothers did. But today, I feel, fathers also try to play. They try to be there so much more than what our fathers could do. So why do you think this fear is, there, that like
I think
a baby will take away my life?
I think it's because there's just so much more outside of your family now that feels so good, that looks so good, right? Like careers, like I said, traveling, partying, going out, eating out, all these social events. There's so much. Earlier, there wasn't that much anyways. Probably the men would go out, work, bring back food for the family. The mom is probably at home all day and just doing chores and da-da-da. So what you said, FOMO. So there's so much more FOMO. There's so much more to give up in order to get this, right? And as long as this outside value keeps increasing, the fear is going to keep increasing, because then you lose quite a bit of that, at least temporarily.
Yes,
right?
and you always do, not just temporarily, right?
Absolutely.
Like I don't know, I don't know till what age it's going to be, but there are so many times.
So let's say in the long run, let's still call it temporary, right? It's how many ever years, still temporary, right? So when you have to think, like, imagine you're this independent person, you have this full independence, you can make decisions whenever, you can travel wherever, you have your friends, you have this thing, and then you are in this, soaked in this, enjoying this so much, and then you think having a child means I have to give up all of this. Then of course there's going to be a fear. So I think that's what it is.
Do you think like there needs to be more awareness around being a parent in all aspects, not just this one thing, but like before we become parents, this is something that is one of the most important roles in our lives. And like we discussed earlier, that it can have such a great impact on our even our adult lives, what we go through as children. Don't you think like it should be something as part of the curriculum somewhere? Like
no.
Something that, that prepares you.
You know why? Because, maybe you and I feel this like that. It's because we get this joy. We found this space. We like this connection, this emotion, this family, all of this. You and I are very similar in that sense. So that's why we feel this. There's so much joy in this. Like, why are people not coming and taking this? Maybe they don't, right? Maybe a lot of people are also sort of sometimes wanting to remove themselves from creating too strong of bonds. They have internalized some kind of trauma, some kind of triggers. They don't want to set themselves up to feel this gravity of emotion and love, right?
Which is fair.
Which is fair. So then why to advocate to them?
No, but...
you know what I'm saying?
I understand you. But this is for somebody who chooses not to be a parent, right? But for someone who wants to be a parent and is sort of, somewhere in the space.
They also probably have that in mild, keep it in mild levels.
But then they're just suffering, no? Then they are, I have seen so many mothers that come and they have children, but every moment is so challenging for them. Not because the child is challenging, but because...
this is the thing. First, you need to deal with yourself.
Exactly.
Your own emotions, your own feelings. That's why I say, if a woman is not ready to be a mother, nobody should ask her to be a mom, because she's going to be a pretty crappy mom. Right? Like, in the sense, I'm happy, like, like she won't be the best mom that she could be. So we should allow women to take this time, and whenever they come to the realization, now with technology, you can have babies
whenever you want.
Much later on in life, you can freeze your eggs, you can do whatever. So do it when you're mentally there to become moms. Because again, sometimes being mom is so, just part of the society that in order to be a fulfilled woman, you have to be married, then you have to make babies, and you have to be this, right? So, and that might not necessarily be everyone's route. But if you do go down that route, this is our experience, is what I will always tell them. But no pressure on also having to, embrace motherhood like everybody else does. If it's not for you, it's not for you.
I would totally agree. You don't, I think it's something that was brought to us collectively as a society, that we need to evolve and we need to keep evolving.
This is the step.
Doesn't mean every single person needs to have kids to evolve as a society.
So anything that you do out of pressure, out of, these outside sort of factors, it won't fulfill you. It won't. In fact, it might make it worse for the family. There might be problems in the relationship, like you could grow apart from, like, your husband, in-laws, issues, problems, fights. It could create more chaos. And raising a child in that environment is
again very toxic.
Worst thing you could do to a child.
So, talking about all this, sometimes, like, when you do end up doing things that you didn't expect out of yourself with your children, like, sometimes you end up shouting at them, or sometimes you end up snapping at them. How do you deal with the after emotions? And what do you feel?
I feel guilty for a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not someone to dwell on like the negative emotions so much. I feel guilty for a little bit, and then I ask myself, so what do I need to do in order to rectify that situation?
Yeah.
Right? If I need to apologize, I need to apologize. If I need to remind myself, write, journal something down, I need to do that. If I need to, talk to my child and ask her to remind me again, that's never going to happen. I am going to do that. If I need to sit on YouTube and listen to a few motivational videos or whatever to make me feel better, I need to do that, and then just try to be better the next step. You have to accept that you're human, you're flawed, you have emotions, you have actions, you have reactions, and that is part of it. You cannot hold yourself up to an impossible standard.
I think that's another thing that happens with mothers very often, that, when we become moms, and especially when we are in this quest that, like, I want to be the best mom to my child, then we start holding ourselves in some, like you mentioned, impossible standards. And then we keep beating ourselves about it. So that happens very often, where I have seen mothers like beat themselves about it, that, oh no, like I shouted at my child today. Or, oh no, I snapped at my child today. And then the guilt stays for like even 1-2 days, which is also...
What are you doing about it?
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. Oh no, this happened. Now what?
Yeah.
I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. Then you feel guilty. If you know there's nothing you can do to rectify your actions, then stay in guilt. 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, how many ever days, right? But if you know this happened, but I can do better, I will do better, I will make sure to do better, then what's the guilt for?
And I was reading somewhere about it that it is what you can do is, you can't change what happened with your child. You can't change what you did with your child or did to your child. But what you can change is the experience your child got out of it. So even if you ended up shouting at your child or snapping at your child, like you said, if you can go back and repair it, if you can go back and fix it, the child will just remember the experience he got out of it, not what the action you did, So the experience for him will be that, this happened, and we had a repair session where my mom apologized. At the same time, the child will learn that whenever I'm allowed to make mistakes. And
also the child will probably also learn how to stand up in that situation the next time, right?
Yes.
And that the child will also understand that this is not right. Like, it's not okay for somebody to be yelling at me. So if your mom has said sorry to you for yelling at you, then...
the child will
shout and be like, that's not acceptable. So there's so much learning in that.
That's so true. So it's okay to screw up, in these little ways. Yeah,
of course, it is. It can't not be okay. Really, this impossible standard needs to
go away,
dissolve somewhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it's a good thing also for us to strive to continuously be better. So it's okay. But I mean,
not at the cost of beating ourselves.
Yes. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So when we talk about like kids and stuff like that, do you think about situations that might have happened in your life and then think, oh, I did this, I did that? Because every time I talk now, I think about like situations. So I think I'm a much better mom to my son now, the younger one, than I was probably to my firstborn. I mean,
obviously,
that might be, a little unfair, but she was probably my training ground, and the younger one got the better mom from the start.
Because she helped you evolve, no? She came into your life and she helped you become a better person. She helped you evolve.
She made me mom, so she taught me everything about being a mom. Right.
But I also feel, so I had this, I had this parent who was talking about this, how she's a much better parent to her younger one than her older one. And she was in a lot of regret that, why couldn't I be? But I also believe that your older one probably needed this. So that's why your older one chose you at that point in your life. And your younger one chose you at a different point in your life, because your older one probably needed that person and those experiences.
Absolutely. And I think even parents, sometimes we try to be the same mom we parent 2 kids, 3 kids, 5 kids the exact same way, when that should not be the case. Because each child is different. Like one child, no problem, be whatever you want. But when you have multiples, each child is different. So you have to parent each child differently is what I believe. Like for my Parents always did that to me. Like the rules for me were different. For my sister was different. My brother completely different. And even as children, we always knew that, because we were being treated the way we were and not the way they were, it never felt like, oh, but why didn't I get that? Oh, but why did he get that and I didn't, We always knew sort of that life is not going to be equal and everyone's going to be treated equally the same way, the same rules applies. So we had to work on different things. And they also.
Basically, how you will be treated will depend on the way you are acting.
Absolutely.
Interesting. I never heard something like that before. And, in terms of parenting.
Yeah. Because most parents are like that. No, this is the rule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Standard.
Everybody follows it. And especially because you don't want the siblings to fight with each other or with you over it.
And I think sometimes parents get too, scared of their children also sometimes, in the sense that, I don't know how to explain this. Like in this, trying to make it fair for everybody, they sometimes compromise on the child's. Like, like I don't know how to explain this. Like, let's say two kids, and then they say, "Abo badmasi garin dubai janaलाई बन्द गरिदिन्छु," or दुवै जनालाई TV हेर्नु पाउँदैन, whatever. The punishment goes for both.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's like a fair thing to do. Like the parents should be able to make a decision. You are wrong in this situation. He is right. You get the punishment. He doesn't or she doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you get to watch. But they get scared to do that because then they're like, if I do that to one child, the other child will not listen.
Whatever they're scared. I don't know. But I always felt that was a very unfair kind of a parenting technique. Like unfair for the one who's right.
Yeah, what did I do?
What did I do? Right? The other kid is like, okay, wait, now I'll pass out you also. But this kid is like, what just happened? Right? So they should also learn decision making. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay for our parents to say, okay, not you this time. It's this one. It's not you this time. It's that one.
So when you think about all these things, do you tend to actually put it out in practice with your children?
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay.
I think it comes more naturally to me.
Yeah.
More than anything else. Like I don't have to think so much. And I realize these things when I see other people.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how they do it differently. And I think what works for me, what do I think works better in a logical situation, and then I stick to that.
Yeah. So what do you think about, when you say, we've spoken so much about your child being a better mother to your two kids, or even to the extent that even amongst your two kids, one kid will be really different and one kid will be really different, and you will have to be a different parent to each child. So that is so unique. Like even amongst siblings, if you're being a better, if you're being a different parent to each child, that is so unique. So what do you think about, these tips or suggestions that flow about in Instagram, social media from mom bloggers that, when in a situation like this, do this, it's very generic.
Yeah. And it's very generic. Yeah. But nobody knows your child like you do.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You take all of this information and choose the one that works for your child. Yeah. For the betterment of your child is what I would always say. I read a lot of mom blogs like this. And then I pick and choose what works for me. And not what's convenient for me. Yeah. What's the easier thing to do for me, no. What, in terms of the logic, in terms this is what it is for my child, then I'll, cater my actions around that. You can't get customized
content,
right? You can probably if you go to someone like you or someone who has like a specific in the field. But if you're looking for parenting guides on social media, that's what you're going to get. You just have to be smart about it, I guess.
So at the end of the day, it all boils down to being more conscious yourself as a parent before doing anything else.
Everything boils down to you, yourself, your mind, your actions. If you can't control yourself, forget trying to control kids. Right? Yeah. You have to. And then the main thing is you need to keep giving yourself space to grow. You need to keep telling yourself that there's space to learn, to be better, to do better. I don't know if better is the right word, to just make it easier.
To be more evolved.
Yeah,
I
guess.
To be more than what you were.
What you are, right? So if you do that, and sometimes when this also happens, now. You become a parent. And then somebody tells you, it's the conversation. You know, initially, mostly like your sasu is saying this, that, your mom is saying that. You want to pick and choose. Obviously, pisses you off more when the sasu says it than when your mom says it. But you know what I mean, right? And then women get to a point where like, now I feel comfortable. I know my baby. Now nobody tell me nothing. Right? I'm not going to listen to you. And then they get into this, I know what's best for my child, which is true, but they get so stuck up in that they sort of don't keep that space to learn, to grow, to listen to that sasu anymore, to listen to that mother, to listen to the auntie who's giving me unsolicited advice, which I don't want to hear, and then get stuck and then become that same parent, exact parent, right? So
that's a bad space to get into, right? Like
for me, I always feel like advice is welcome. I mean, anyone giving me advice is probably somebody who's concerned for me, for the well-being of my child. If there's something that's annoying over there, I always tell them on their face, you know, that might have worked for you, but please, it doesn't work for me. Why? Because that XYZ. I'll explain to this person also, whoever it is in my life. But if there's again good advice, I feel like, oh my God, thank you so much for that. You know, I didn't think about it like that. So I always feel like I can stand up for myself as a woman. I never feel like, you know, somebody said this, somebody said it, now I'm annoyed now and I'm going to push everybody away. That can be overwhelming. This happens to new moms, right? Because we're going through all these hormones, we're going through, and then this, you just want to push it all away. But the moment you can take a breather, get some control and set boundaries, then you will have space to get what's good from there and to reject what's bad. So always put yourself in that position. Don't let like the surroundings overwhelm you so much that you even reject the good.
Basically, setting boundaries is important so that you don't get mixed in the like umpteen number of advices you're getting, and then the moment you know what to pick. So this is the same thing for whether it is social media or outside social media.
Everything. It can be so overwhelming sometimes.
I think another thing that happens with mothers a lot is that they have a hard time putting their foot down, even if they
in front of the children or
in front of the family members more than anybody else. That let's say as a mom, one would believe in let's say not showing screens to the child, and usually what I get to hear is, okay, I am not showing screens, but what about what about his grandparents? What about my parents showing him screens? What about my in-laws showing him screens? So how do I stop that? And that becomes a big thing, that how do I put my foot down there? So same thing with like, a lot of parents don't believe in giving sugar to the child or very often. Then it's like, what about the uncle? What about the aunt? What about the neighbors? What about... So that's...
Ooh, neighbors. Okay, so first of all, of course, you have to have your reasons strong enough, right? And then you communicate. Right? It's so obvious, giving sugar or giving the screen and what it does. So you try to educate the people around you. But then, again, you leave some space a little bit. Right? I don't give screen even to my 2-year-old right now. No screen, 0 screen time with me. But if sometimes he goes to his grandparents, he'll watch for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. That's a treat. No, he doesn't. My father-in-law doesn't need to parent my child. He can be grandfather. Grandfather means treats. So that's a treat. Let it be for some time. But if you know that that's constantly happening, it's okay. Don't be like, why are you doing this? 5 minutes, then you can try and take the child away in whatever works for your child, or this is the last one. Okay, and make it still fun and not like a fight. Because the moment you start to create that friction, then it's gone. Or you involve yourself with the grandparents. Sometimes the grandparents don't know what to do. Right? They don't have maybe the resources, the time, the energy. So it's easier to give a screen, right? But if you are there and you could maybe conduct a situation or play, and you're also part of it, and you're taking on the workload or the difficult part and giving them the fun parts, why would they want to show the screen?
I remember once a parent called me and she's like, I want coaching sessions with you, but not with, I don't want to do it. I want you to coach my mother.
Okay.
So on this entire part.
Yeah.
So I was a bit reluctant because I was like, she should come to me herself. But then, she
What
really insisted. So I said, okay. And when I spoke to the mother was like, that's the time she is with me. Like, that's the time she's sitting with me. Otherwise, she's always like running around. And, that's the time she's hugging me and sitting when we are watching screen together. How do you expect me to let go of that?
Exactly.
So that's, like you said, it's just that they don't have the energy to run around with them. And that's a very good idea that you involve yourself as well.
So you take the physical load of it. What's their difficulty? You take that away. If that's important to you as a parent, no screen time, you take the physical load. They want just the fun part.
Yeah.
Give them that.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, it can always be worked on, but you need to not get angry about it or pissed off about it. Right? So then it works, I think.
How do you always manage to see everything in such a positive light and like be so calm around everything that comes? Like, so far, whatever we've spoken, you've always and you've taken a very good turn and quite useful suggestions, I would say.
I think over the years, self-awareness is very, very important to me. Okay, and what I believe self-awareness is sometimes just coming out of myself and looking at myself like a CCTV. Okay, that's why I always say I am my own CCTV. I look at the outside and what is Zenisha doing right now? Is this So I have a very objective way of looking at myself sometimes. So then I don't take things personally. I don't take it personally. Like my mother-in-law is showing screen, I don't want to. And then if I make it about me, she's always like that. She does this. If I try to make her the villain, she's always like that. She's always showing screen. She doesn't do this. She doesn't do that. I'm trying to make myself more important, right? That I am the good parent and I don't show the screen and I am doing all these great things. But these people, these people are the one who attack. So that is unnecessary ego, right?
Yeah.
So when you place yourself on a higher ground, suddenly you need to make yourself feel so much better about you and yourself and your parenting skills and you try to villainize everybody around you. But if you genuinely have this genuine concern for your child, you have to understand the child is the child of the family, not just yours. And that mother-in-law, her grandparent, his grandparent also, do not want something bad to happen to them. Of course, knowingly, why would they
It's coming from a place of love. Yeah.
So, and you have to understand that they've also raised kids. They also know. So sometimes even the mother-in-law or father-in-law, whoever I'm just saying, random people, tati, mama, whoever I'm talking about, they have their own inflated egos also.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I've raised this many. Who are you?
Yeah.
Right? So what is happening is the clash of two egos.
Yeah, it's not about the child anymore.
It's not about the child anymore. It's about you and this, and then sometimes power and sometimes control and da. So these are egos clashing.
Yeah.
So sometimes you need to come out of yourself, look at it objectively. Are you also just working on your inflated egos? Most probably, yes.
Yeah.
Right? You trying to feel better about yourself, your parenting. That's why you're trying to put the blame on others. Most probably, yes. Right? So then, what do you need to do? You need to let go.
So tell me something. Where did you learn all this? Because I learned...
You learned at Harvard, huh? I made this up in my head.
I learned all this through so many classes and so much mentoring. Everything.
I made it up in my head.
Everything you're saying it to me, I'm like, where did you learn all this?
Nowhere. Just in my own head. This is what I'm doing. I made myself CCTV. Yeah.
Wow. So just via being such a conscious person in general and, by being conscious about your actions, about your words, you have understood this to the depth which to be honest, I read a lot of papers about it.
There are papers and stuff like this.
Yeah. I studied about the ego, how it develops through your childhood and then it doesn't need to be there in your adulthood, but it's still there with you.
Yeah. Because at the end of it, I really feel like everyone's just seeking validation, right? And that seeking validation is so strong. We want it from everywhere. And it's easiest to get it from your child. So easy, no? For me, I remember my mom, she was like the worst, useless cook, okay? Never knew how to cook nothing. Obviously, she comes from like Khandani Parivar, never did anything. Her entire life came to her husband's house, didn't know how to make tea. That level she was. So she was that level for herself. Horrible level, right? In front of her. So maybe even worse, like she came home. She put pyaz in like tea. That was her level, okay? But me as a child, when I looked at her and she would peel an egg, and when she peeled the egg, there was no marks or scars or cracks. I thought, wow, my mom is so good. Like she can peel an egg without a crack, like a single thing, you know?
Yeah.
So for a child looking at their parents, like whatever your parents are doing, they're so cool.
Yeah.
So it's easiest for a parent to get this and feel so great, no, about themselves that they believe
So much,
that's
yeah,
reality.
yeah.
They'll peel an egg and think they're superwoman, right?
Yeah.
Right. So then we just want this, we just crave this. And so in the process of craving this validation, we go and then...
Yeah. And we think our children are seeking attention from us, but I think it's the other way around.
Always the other way around. Always.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like these little kids are like confidence boosters, I tell you.
Yeah.
And I think that's great, right? You take that from them.
Yeah. Now suddenly everybody will want to have kids.
Confidence boosters. You take that from them, good parts from that, and then work on other parts, right? Everything comes with its goods and bads. Is what I think. Is it making sense? I don't know if I'm making sense. If I was just telling a friend, I mean, it would be fine.
No, it's making
telling an expert. I don't know if it's making sense, but this is how I do it.
No, it's not just making sense. I'm in a little bit of a shock or an awe. I'm like, I've spent a lot of time studying all this.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time studying all this in books, via mentors, and you're just saying it to me so easily. Like,
Yeah,
now,
I've never read a parenting book.
yeah,
Never. But I have read a lot of like articles and stuff.
Yeah.
But like you said, I just picked the parts that
you like that suits you.
are relevant to
Yeah.
me, because sometimes a lot of these materials are very westernized.
That's
you know,
true.
and
That's very true.
doesn't work in our setting. And then just because the theory says certain way, it works in certain situations in some country somewhere where lifestyle is different, relationships are different, dynamics are different. And then we try to take that one theory and be like, this is what the expert is saying now needs to happen in my family. Then again, putting ourselves
you're
up
in for a
this
clash. Yeah.
for no reason, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's also happening with a lot of like modern moms, because all of these theories, whatever people, you should write more Asian setting stuff, but everything is very Western. It doesn't work for our families. And then what do? That we take this information. This is a fact because I got it on social media, and now look, this woman. That man, whoever, even clashes with their husbands, partners, everybody.
Yeah. I
Happens
think
a
people
lot.
also do that because there's not enough content available
exactly.
locally at a local
But that's what,
contest.
when you need to use your dimag a little bit, no? That setting, fine, great.
Yeah.
Not in this setting. Or, ke bhanne त्यसलाई?
Customize it a bit.
Customize it for yourself.
Yeah. Sometimes also, like the thing is, until and unless you're a parent, you don't know what parenthood is all about. And when you enter this role willingly, you also enter it quite confidently that, I want a child and I'm going to be a good parent and everything is going to work out fine. And then suddenly all the hardships and the challenges come about. And you also tend to sort of lose a little bit confidence because you're like, wow, like, I thought I could do this, but suddenly I'm feeling like I may not be able to do this, or you start doubting yourself. And at that point, whatever anyone tells you, you just want to apply everything because you're like, now I don't know anything. So let me see if this will work, if this will work, if this will work. And I have seen so many moms doing that, and it's like it becomes a mess because now you don't know what you believe in anymore. And a lot of moms come out of it very quickly, and then, their eyes open and they're like, no, I'm going to take charge and I'm going to do, and, I know I can do it. But then a lot of moms also go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And it goes till the child is 2, 3, 4. So that becomes very difficult.
And then you've lost the most valuable years.
Then
of
you've
your
lost.
child, right?
And that is another pressure.
3 years, 4 years. Come. For me also, I remember one of these interviews, I think Priyanka asked me, how would you describe motherhood, or what was it about mother? I said that motherhood to me was like the most humbling experience, because up until I became a mom. I was learning, I was studying. I was good at studies, sports, excelling, doing this, practicing, knowing everything and being better.
Like you said, you were never compared because you were the
kid.
the kid.
To get compared to. But so I was always like that, going up. And suddenly when I became a mom, I knew nothing about it. First, because my mom never talked about motherhood so much. I didn't see babies around me. So it was obviously getting to a space where I knew nothing, which was a very new space for me. And for most moms, I think, will be a very, very new space. So it could easily be overwhelming. And probably it was to me also, maybe for, I don't know, a few days, a week, I don't know how long. It was. But what you have to trust as a mom or as a woman is all of that you've done in these last 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, however long it took you to be. You know yourself. You know that you have a dimag, and you can rationalize things. You can understand things. You can build skills. You can communicate. You can empathize. You can strategize. You can plan. So all of these skills you already have. So it's just those skills in a different setting. So you need to have confidence in the woman that you were, or in the skills that you built, or in the experiences that you had as a woman, right? And then if you have confidence in that, then first of all, half the overwhelming stuff is gone.
Yeah.
And beyond that, of course, there's information from people, there's information on the internet. And you have to understand that just like everything else in my life, where I go into the mass, and then I'll pick one that suits me and then keep that for myself. You need to start doing that. Otherwise, you're just window shopping, right? Going and looking at everything, come back home with nothing, having wasted your time, your energy, and you don't come back home with anything substantial. You come back home still thinking, what do I need next?
So you feel that there's always something to learn from everything?
Absolutely. Everything and everyone. What not to do also you can learn.
That's true.
Sometimes you see and you're like, that doesn't work for me. That's fine.
Yeah, that's something I'm never going to do.
Otherwise, you'll just be there wondering what just happened. Right?
Yeah.
That'd be sad to have lost your main years with your child, right? The bonding time. And of course, the environments that we live in, and joint families, bigger setting, like you said, neighbors, it might not always be that easy to, silence the voice, set the boundaries, pick and choose what information you want for yourself, how to do, and stuff like that. So sometimes, of course, you might have to bend the rules a little bit here and there.
Again, to suit yourself for that particular
suit your
instance.
family, your dynamics,
Yeah. I remember the podcast the other day, somebody said that, I was not, because birthday parties overwhelmed my child. So I was not very comfortable. And there were so many birthday parties that were not even relevant to my child. So she said, I used to come out and say that, this does not suit me or my child. So I'm just going to skip this one. It is not comfortable for us. So, just understanding what you need, what your child needs.
And then sometimes we make our decisions and we voice our opinions and stuff like that. The more important part, the voicing is already difficult, but what's more difficult is to come out of it without the fear of judgment.
What will the other person think?
So I told you this.
Yeah.
But what after that? So if you're constantly going to think, what those people think? How am I going to react? How are
they must be feeling bad.
Then again, pitfall, right? So you have to come out of it. So when you do your action, whatever, this is my values. These are the things that I believe in. Then again, now.
Basically, you live by the values, your
that you
thought
hold.
processes.
Because that sets the foundation for everything, even for your children.
That is what they're going to see and learn as well. Those are the values they are going to build on.
Your children are not going to learn anything from what you say.
Yeah, they'll just
only
be watching.
What you see, what they see, what they see, they will enact. Mokleta, nothing.
They'll be constantly watching you and learning from you, imbibing everything that they are seeing. That's very true.
And also, I feel like sometimes we ourselves we hold ourselves to an impossible standard. And then we hold the children also to an impossible standard. Based on this judgment or this fear of judgment of the outside. What are these people going to think about my child? So now I need to discipline this child in order to cater to everybody else's needs.
My child is not saying thank you. My child is not saying sorry.
everything. Not wanting to share his toy, not wanting to share his food, not wanting to smile sometimes, maybe just jumping on the sofa when he shouldn't be, whatever it is, right? So of course there is a part where you discipline your child and you tell the child what is socially acceptable, unacceptable, and then that all is there.
But also give the child the space to learn those things.
And to make mistakes and to grow, and without the fear of judgment. Because judgmental to this society is. No matter what. They'll be having shitty beuras themselves, but they will judge a 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old for showing the same kind of shitty beura, you know? So you have to really be wary of that. And sometimes in the process of trying to please all these other people, then you do more harm to your child than good.
That's a very important aspect, right? Like allowing your child the space and time to learn. It's not that a 3-year-old will suddenly learn that no, sharing is good and I'm going to be a selfless person in life. Yeah, that happens a lot. Because the moment you see, so it is others' judgment. Of course, somebody will comment that, oh, like, you know, this child is not sharing. But then it also becomes your own judgment from your own conditioning.
Yes.
You suddenly start seeing your child like 10 years down the lane or 20 years down the lane. And you think that, oh, like now this child is going to become a selfish adult who's never going to share things. And then suddenly...
the need to suddenly do that discipline right in front of everybody, you know. Like almost shame the child. Shame other people's kids also sometimes. It's not good, you know, so easy. But we have to be aware. And as long as we're aware, I think slowly.
So I feel again it roots back to like working on yourself. So basically, you know, the definition of parenting that I get from you is like just continuously work on yourself, and you know everything will be fine.
You can only be a better parent if you're a better human, a better individual, or not just parent. Every role.
Every role. A better
role
wife,
you
a
take
better daughter.
So it's about you. You cannot, like they say, no, if you cut an orange and squeeze it, you're not going to get apple juice. You're only going to get orange juice no matter what. Which means when anybody's going to cut you open and squeeze something out of you, or, you know, with the pressure, squeeze something out of you, you can only give what is inside you. You cannot give something else, right? So if somebody's squeezing you and you take out anger or jealousy, insecurity, incompetency, whatever, unworthiness, all of that is already because that's in your mind, that's in your body. You live with things like that. But when life, like motherhood and all these difficult times comes and pressures you into so much, and you still come out of it with love and confidence and happiness and gratitude and all of that, it's because that's who you are as a person. So the motherhood is just one other aspect of you being able to show who you are, or you acting or reacting the way you want.
Also, like we mentioned, an opportunity to grow yourself. It's sometimes also like a mirror, no? That oh man, like this is who I am. This is what's inside of me. And then suddenly you're aware of it.
And this other part also, since you didn't ask, but now it's in my head, is about these expectations of children to be a certain way. Because that's my challenge, okay? Is that I was always a very confident kid, very out there, very da-da-da. My daughter, on the other hand, is not as vocal as I was as a child, let's say. She is still vocal. She's still... And then sometimes she'll say, oh, but I'm so shy to do that. And suddenly it triggers me. I'm like, how can you feel shy? Like, what is this shy business? Because for me, I'm a very confident person. And like, you know, right? I've discarded this fear of judgment so strongly from my life that I think it's the most useless thing ever. So, but she has it. Then I think, why does she get this useless? Why does she have this useless
and where did she get it from?
Where did she get it from? I know, but... But what is this nonsense? Like, you know, I feel like that. So sometimes I might be like, why? So sometimes I might not be able to relate to her not being as confident, not wanting to go up, not wanting to speak up. She has it, but she takes, you know, a few more pushes. So I need to take a step back sometimes, you know.
Take some deep breaths that I'm not going to...
She's just not my kid. She's even Dikesh's kid. Right, so.
And also she has a personality of her own.
Absolutely, right?
So I'm not going to
But that's difficult for me. That's very difficult me when I don't see that. Especially when she doesn't like speak up or fight back. which is very much part of my personality, it bothers me a little bit, right? So
I'm so glad, Zenisha.
yeah.
I'm so glad. I feel like there's
there's something there, right? So this I feel. This one about confidence and this public speaking and whatever is my thing. So I wish she
had
that
it.
a little more. Not just wish, when she doesn't have it, when I feel like, oh.
It bothers
and then the
you.
other one is sports. I feel like she should be doing everything. And my husband sometimes tells me, I don't think so. It's okay for her to just stay home and relax. It's okay. You don't need to push her so much. I don't want to push her that much. For me, like, that's the minimum of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And he thinks it's a lot. So, I mean, I guess sometimes, parents'
it's a very relative concept as well, right? Like, it's very relative.
Yeah. I think if I throw her into the pool, she should start swimming. Like, that's just I'm like, why are you scared? Like, it's just swim. It's just swim. So I guess, so sometimes we do that to children in different ways. So these are the things for me. But yeah.
Yes, but then, you're aware of it. And you might have it in your mind that,
Yeah, this is how I'm reacting.
And then put that CCTV on you.
CCTV is always looking at me. I live in my own big boss house. All CCTVs everywhere. And then when she gets sick during swim season, it pisses me off so much. I'm like, oh my God, why are you sick again? Like, you can't go swimming.
Like a 1 month window.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and sometimes even when she's sick, I'm like, it's fine. It's just swimming. Like, for me, I studied in Darjeeling, and we used to swim at like 4 a.m. Okay, ridiculous cold, in the cold water, no heater pool, nothing. And then I see her, madam, she's like, Choo. And then my husband's like, no, let her stay at home. I'm like, get up. So I have that also. Yeah. Over expecting, is that what it is? I don't know. Like, it's okay. I don't know. I don't know. My husband treats my daughter like a dainty princess, and I treat her like the tomboy that I was, or I still am in so many ways. And that's sometimes difficult.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing because the child gets a mix of, multiple things. The more different kinds of personalities a child is around, the better the child builds his or her own emotional regulation. That's why we say, like, joint families are so good for children.
Absolutely.
Because, they know that, if I have to talk to my uncle, I have to talk this way or do this way or behave this way. If dad is there, then this is how I'll get what I want. If mom is there, then this is what
so much learning, no?
So much learning, yeah.
Yeah, my daughter already knows that. If she's going out with her grandmother, as in Matlab Dikesh's mom, then she'll be like dressy with heels and stuff. If she's going out with my mom, she'll be like, I need to wear jeans and sneakers. Yeah, so that she knows that. Right?
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah.
Oh God, and the clothes and is another story altogether, man. Raising girls in this sea of feminism and what a woman should be like and how girls should be raised is a task, I tell you. Sometimes my daughter is like a girly girl, okay, like loves her clothes and then I'm like, and then there's so much content out there that, why should we treat girls like this and why should they only be princess and they should be scientists.
They should,
all of that, right?
Like boys should wear pink.
Yeah, everything's boys. My daughter wears hand-me-downs. Half of the clothes. He wears all his pink flowers, butterfly clips on his hair. Everything is fine. The guy, I'm not so worried about this. The that we're living in automatically boosts
boys. It's a very organically inclined towards boosting boys.
In fact, we need to like tame it down a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
But like the girl raising part is, at least with the theory, it was always very difficult for me.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of girl do I want to raise, right? That was another big challenge. And then I decided. Guess what I decided?
I'm just going to let her be her.
Exactly.
She's going to choose.
She can choose. Yeah. In the future, what
as she goes along, in fact, like she can build her own personality.
Let her.
Yeah, it's not up to you,
Now I'm opening my own issues or whatever problems, challenges. The other thing is religion also. Because I don't believe in God. And it's so difficult for me sometimes when she asks me like God questions that I have to give illogical answers to, no? Yeah. It's so difficult for me. But then again, I think I cannot, thopo this my mindset onto her.
Yeah.
So whatever that religion says, I try to give her like facts about it. But like,
or you can also send her to
decide.
somebody, like your mother, your mother-in-law, father-in-law.
They
father,
sometimes don't know, they're doing it because they've doing it for years and years. So they'll know bits and parts, but then like, I'm the kind who wants to give full information, right? All of it. It might not be necessary at this age, but I try to do. So I read about that. I'm so tempted to say, there's no God. You know what I mean? Because that's my individual thought, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, does that even make sense? Like, I really want to do that, which I normally do to adults, like someone who already has a brain and can debate back with me. But I have to understand that she's not that, right? What I say is a fact for her.
Yeah. She will hold it in very high standards. Yeah.
But other people don't feel responsible. They will say there is God, which we don't know. I still feel responsible to not say, there is no God or there's a God. But then I give her information. So that's a challenge. For me, is mostly like my thoughts are there, but to not try and impose that on my children, because I think most parents do that easily, right? These are my thoughts, so this is set.
Yeah, this is what you must believe in.
This is what you must
basically
believe.
Projecting yourself on your children.
Yeah, so
then you're just raising yourself. Then what's the point?
But most people doing that.
Yeah, most people are doing that again because of lack of awareness. So it's not a bad thing. It's just that there's no evolution.
Yeah,
there's no evolution. Like
there's no space for that child to think.
Yeah.
Right?
There's no
space for the child to think.
The child is not his or her own person.
Yeah,
the child will eventually become the mom or the dad.
Yeah. With their thoughts.
Yeah.
The other day, my daughter is watching YouTube and she comes across this Jesus Christ content. I know a lot of like Jesus Christ stories and stuff. I went to a Catholic school for 10 years. Right? So now she's asking me about Jesus and crucifixion and why did Jesus die for us and stuff like that, So I just give her Bible information without putting my judgments as I do with Buddhism, with Hinduism, or everything that she asks me. But this is also something that I'm very conscious about, to not give her
a particular religion. Yeah, that's again very important. I anyway feel that everything comes down to the same thing, so it's up to the child. So
identify or not identify as whatever, right?
Yeah. So I myself went to a very pure, hardcore Hindu school. We used to have havans every Sunday.
Like we did prayers before every meal, and church every Sunday.
Yeah. So I ended up, and I had friends from different religions, and I was in a boarding. There was no mom or dad seeing what she's imbibing. So I ended up exploring a couple of different religions before I decided that I just want to get into spiritual, be a spiritual person and not follow anything in particular.
Yeah. So that, and also for very young children, I sometimes see a lot of parents wanting them to perform, right? Wanting them to perform.
Good at singing, so sing for everyone.
So that is also there. And then putting words in their mouth, if I ask, babu ke gariracha, and then they'll say, khana khairachu bhanna ta, or whatever. Like that child might not even be thinking about khana khairachu. That child might be thinking, I'm thinking about rainbows and unicorns or whatever, and their magical brains, right? So this also we need to, I think, little bit control as parents. Not speak on behalf of our children, no matter how old they are. Wait for your child's answer. If they want to answer, they will answer. If they don't want to answer, they will want. And most probably they will answer with a better answer any adult could give.
It's just that we, in that moment, what starts happening is like, we start to again seek validation, right? Like my child is so smart. Like my child is saying, even though the other person knows that you are only like repeating, making the child repeat.
Exactly. And what will that other person can also see? No, khana khairacha. They know. Why will they ask ke garirako?
You know.
Because they want to hear the child. So this one, I really have to tell parents to stop doing.
There was this very... this just reminds me of something somebody said, one of my mentors, that don't ever ask a child a question that you know the answer to. Ask questions to your children that you don't know answers to if you want to. Like, why are you asking them, what color is this? You already know what color is this. Why are you testing your child? So stop testing your children in every phase.
Which color do you like, probably?
Yeah, which color do you like? That's an answer you don't know, maybe. So
Yeah. And no matter what question you ask, allow the child to answer. No matter who asks what, wait for the child at their own pace, don't try to feed in you. And then they'll have this. So this is what happens. Then the child stops thinking, waiting for a cue. What should I say? Should I do it? Should I not? Am I saying the right thing? Because since they were little.
Yeah, they'll look at you.
Yeah.
They look at, and this goes on to adulthood. Like,
of course.
Sometimes I still
forever.
Yeah.
Forever. It'll go on forever.
Yeah.
Because you just never got to answer.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, being the eldest, I got the chance. But my mom tells me that I ruined my siblings' childhood because of this, because I answered for them all the time. She says, whole life, I would say, my name is Zenisha, she's Alisha, this is Tyson, like to my brother. And my mom says, the day you got married and went out of this house is the day your brother started speaking on his own. Oops. So I consciously do that. At least she made me conscious of it. As an adult, it seems.
At least you're not doing that to your children now.
I'm not doing it to my children.
Yeah, and maybe that's the reason you're not doing that to your children.
Yes, because I did to my my brother and my sister their entire lives.
Yeah. Coming back to the challenges of raising a girl child, like I never thought of it before. I mean, I have a son myself. I never thought. I knew like a lot of moms want a girl, a daughter versus a son, because so many of my friends would tell me that I want to like dress up my daughter, or I want to like, they were.
What kind of reason to want a daughter is this? Huh?
That I enjoy.
Buy a doll.
I enjoy.
Get some Barbies. I'll some Barbie. Okay.
I was like, maybe if that is the reason, that is one reason I wouldn't want a daughter, because I just wouldn't know, like,
that is the last reason to want a daughter again.
So another thing becomes about, like you said, feminism. The other thing starts to come about also, like girls trying to prove a point in the world, and girls trying to do something in this world, that additional pressure that my girl should not just like, my daughter should not just be like held back or be at home. Or what do you feel about that?
I think any child, no matter what gender, should go full force into the world to unleash their full potential. That I believe. Okay. As people, as talents, I think everybody comes into the world with a purpose, and to seek that purpose, to fulfill that purpose, is each individual's right, and they should get an environment in order for them to do it. That is done. Having said that, as a woman, as even a man, I guess family might be important to them also. As a woman, we have a special ability, right, to make babies and this, just to take life forward. That cannot be looked upon as
something less.
Yeah, as a weakness, and also as something that is stopping you from doing all of these other things.
Right.
You have to realize that this is also just as great a purpose
as everything else.
And if this purpose means holding on to the other purposes sometimes for longer periods of times, temporarily, whatever, let that never be
looked down upon.
Yeah, looked down upon, not by the world, by yourself. Because you are special because of this, right? So then when you start doing that, then great. So if my child tomorrow is going to have a flourishing career and she want to put it on hold to be a mom, to have this family, I know how beautiful this is and how much I enjoyed it. I would never not want that for her. Of course I would want it for her, but again, it's an individual journey, right? And sometimes all of this that we've created, all this drama around ourselves as humans that we've created, we've pushed ourselves a bit too far, I think. Really, we've gone so far into seeking material and I don't even know what do you call these stuff, like mostly material stuff, right? That we've really lost track of.
Worldly. We call it worldly. Imagine, like, worldly should have been something else. And we've called these worldly.
Yeah.
Everything else is alternate.
Exactly.
The good stuff is like now alternate.
No. Right? As if we have to make a choice for this. So just coming back to ourselves a little bit, want to.
And we're setting the wrong examples for our children. because they are watching all of this. No, they are watching us seeking these things, and
I am not.
everybody else. Everybody else also.
I will chill.
Eventually, a child is going to learn from everybody else
Absolutely.
also, like not just you. Of course, majority of you, but your
Yeah.
child is also going to grow up,
From
go out into the
everyone,
world.
for
And,
everyone.
yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
So as a
I agree.
society, we are,
we're setting a bad example. I think it's really time for us to, pull back a little bit. That's the
so that gives like additional responsibility to give that much more confidence to your child, so that your child is so like internally satisfied, and
Right.
and I mean, even now they are like, there was a time when we would hardly get any toys, but even now, like, enough toys are not enough for kids, like, so they are already in that process.
When they're watching TV, Yuta ad can get skipped in 5 seconds. 5 seconds,
They can't
that too
wait.
they will be. They're 10 minutes into something, they don't enjoy it. Forget 10 2 minutes into something, they don't enjoy it. Switch. There's so much excess availability of, content, entertainment. Like, there is no time for our children's minds to just
Relax.
be quiet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so then when will they do the thinking? If they're constant, this is one of the reasons that I hate screens so much, is they don't have time to sit and think.
And not do anything.
Constantly stimulated, extremely high stimulation, right? So this is why I really don't like screen time. And this is our lives, right? This is what they will have to live with. It's sad.
So they're already on this path, and now it's, like I said, so much more on us to just guide them or steer them in the right direction.
Yeah. So every time I ask my daughter to do quiet time without me, without screens, nothing, I feel very happy the longer her quiet time goes, because she's either. But even then, sometimes she's drawing, whatever, then she'll need music on the side. Alexa, can you play this? Can you play that? She'll say, but even then, that's still better than screen time. What to do about screen time, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a whole different subject altogether, like that you have to work on. Yeah.
So much for us parents now that you make me think about it.
The
amount of things that we have to think about. But I was just not thinking about it.
Yeah. So you do need people like me.
Of course, absolutely. Very, very important.
When you sat in the session, I was like, when you sat here, suddenly I was like, I was feeling good about it. And I was like, wow, like I like the fact that everything comes to you so naturally, and everything comes to you so progressively, but on its own. So it's nice. Yeah.
I think it just comes from thinking, basically. I think we all are smart enough. At least I hope.
But forget about kids. We only don't have time to stop and think.
That's exactly.
Reflect, journal.
Exactly the reason that I write on Instagram, because social media, which is taking up most of my time, any which ways, I decided
Use it
this
as a
guy will work for me now, will make me sit down and think. So when I have, if you've seen my feed, so it's one photo, one post, one photo. So I can never post a photo without sitting down and writing. So sometimes I have so many good photos I want to post, and I think, oh shit, now I need to write again. So all these writing times are my thinking times, where I force myself to sit down and think and write. And what do I want to write about? Also, I have to think. Then about that topic, also I have to think. Whatever the topic, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a chain.
Doesn't matter.
Goes on and on. Yeah.
It's just for me to sit down and think, and then that's when I reflect. That's my therapy. So that's when I do all of my.
That's amazing. That you that I guess that's why your post stories come out so natural and also benefit so many people, because it's coming. It's not curated. It's coming very organically, and it's coming from a place of like honesty and.
Yeah, but I do curate it. In the sense that I don't like to, but I'll always make a story so that it's enjoyable for the viewers also to watch in the setting and understand this. So even though it's a natural content, of course, I don't act things out and all of that. But when I do post anything that looks natural, it also has a little bit of thought behind it.
Okay.
Always.
Of course,
Yeah,
it will,
sometimes.
it will come from some inspiration. But another thing that reminds me, I used to always wonder, how are you so comfortable with, having putting your kids on social media so often, and like, don't you ever fear that there'll be certain standards that people around will hold your children to as they grow up and come out into this world, and something that might bother them? What do you? I'm sure you've thought about it. Yeah.
Countless times. Even just putting the kids out there, everything else is second. Just putting content out there, or kids, or information out there. Also, I struggled with it. Initially, it happened without much thought, right? So when I was so into Instagram. So when I was gonna have a child, I thought I'd make my own Instagram and then post her photos there, just for memory. I didn't think much of it at all. Then I started posting. Then the people started liking and commenting and saying, "Oh, so cute, baby, this, that, whatever." I probably got excited. Oh, my baby is cute. Took cuter photos. Posted more, right? Self-validation, right? So I did that to my kid, unfortunately. So that happened first, naturally, without me thinking too much into it. And then after that, then I started connecting with this motherhood angle. Then women started writing to me, "Oh, this, oh, even I have a child, oh, my child is this, how, walking, talking, food, this, that." People start asking me the smallest of things, what do you do? Like, even I have swollen breasts or whatever, And then I realized so many women needed help, and they're coming to like a random person with no qualification whatsoever for help. So then I started making myself useful. I thought I was helping everybody. Then this culminated. Then I started building business around. At the end of the day, what am I, a business family? So I started selling bottles, diapers, creams, So it became also my customer base, right? So now what happened? I enjoy Instagram myself. Then I made myself helpful also, the community part of things, and then my business also. So all three were working together perfectly fine, up and up until I think the year was a year, 2 years. And then I started feeling like what you said, when people hold them to a higher standard, because obviously it's their best moments that are on Instagram, right? And then I would meet people outside and they would say, "Oh, yeah, the these friendly sa, baira ta boldaina rahecha hai," and things like that. And then I said, "Oh, am I doing this to her?" Then that's when I started making it a little more natural, like letting them see the bad moments, also the dirty also, and not polishing everything up, right? So I was doing that. And then for a bit, I didn't even post. I was like, maybe I shouldn't be posting them all together. That I went back and forth on this quite a lot. Eventually, I decided, it's what you decide for yourself, right? Eventually, we decided, me and my husband both, I can't say that our children are going to be living in a generation of social media, and eventually they will do
it for themselves.
Probably, yeah. And then they started enjoying making videos with us, so we don't force her into content, but she likes. And now even my son says, "Hey, mera photo khicha tha, mera photo." I guess that. But if it turns out like I don't think it is. I think that this will be my biggest parenting mistake, or whatever, the downfall of what I've done with my children. Everything else I can vouch for myself. This one is still a little sketchy. I don't know how they are going to react. Either they're going to be fine about it.
Yeah, you can tell them you asked for it.
You asked for it. I'll keep proof. Right. So this is still one thing that I'm not fully sure about. But now I just have to believe in my heart that every time I put out videos of my kids and it makes so many people happy. People write to me, they say, you totally made my day. These children put a smile on my face, inspires them. So all the goodness that is coming out of it might be worth it, I guess. So I can't say anything else.
That's great. Yeah, it has been a nice conversation, and it's also good to know, so many aspects of it where, like, I feel, you have your own challenges that comes around raising kids, and it's amazing the way you have, the way you perceive those challenges, it's amazing. Like your whole perception of it and how you can mold it around a positive light. I think, even as an expert, I believe there's so much your children are learning from this, and it's good to see more and more mothers down that path.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And like you mentioned, it's not just going to be for your children. As you are raising these children, it's going to affect generations and generations, your grandkids, their grandkids. It's going to like break so many patterns.
I guess that's all we just have to try to do, right? Learn from everybody else's mistakes, make some of our own, and then learn from them, and then keep doing better.
I guess the most important thing that we need to know as mothers is that we are allowed to make mistakes. It's absolutely okay. We just need to learn from them.
As just people.
Yeah.
And not just learn from them, we need to like genuinely grow from them, like not regret it, but do better. Right? I think that's the part people struggle with. Like they'll make a mistake, they'll never do it again, but they won't be better than that also. They won't, I don't know, grow from it.
Yeah, keep going in a spiral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere. Sometimes, people, you hear of like couples fight for the same issue for 10 years, 15 years. It's the same thing. The same trigger. You know exactly what pisses them off. You will do it. Are? Like, why? You need to live with this guy for the rest of your life. Why? Chhod do. So I mean things like that that a little bit just eventually it just boils down to us trying to make.
And we didn't cover it a lot, but I think it's also like you speak of all these things so easily, while for someone else it is so hard. And even I know, like, as someone is listening to this, they would be thinking in their head that, she's just saying it so easily, but it's not that easy. I believe it comes a lot from the way you were parented.
Absolutely. That's what I said at the very beginning. I need to give credit to my parents for just making that so effortless for me.
Yeah, because there's so many times, there are certain things, I feel, again, are easier to me than someone else. And then when I look back at, where did I get this from? Where did I learn this? Like, how did I become good at this? And I look back, I always see that, this is what my parents did when I was a child. And then that gives an even more responsibility that, okay, what is it that I'm going to teach to my child?
I think for me, I had more newfound respect for my parents, having seen how they parented us without much effort as an adult. As a child, of course, there's love and there's always that. But as an adult, when I saw other parents and then I saw my parents and then I saw so many other, like being a parent myself, I was like, wow, these people.
Also, they had so much less time and resources as opposed to what we have. We have so much information. We have so much resources. We have so much more help, so much more time.
So if we don't do better than that,
who will?
Seriously. So we have to definitely try to do better. And of course, like you said, some people might watch it and say, she might say it so easily, and sometimes even victimize themselves. And it's easy for her to say, she has everything else, she has this, she has that, whatever. Like I don't, and it's easy for her to say, this, that. And if we continuously do that, then of course we're blocking the learning that we could get, right? From anybody, not just me, from anybody. If we constantly believe that my situation is different, and so I cannot learn from somebody, or I cannot get out of the situation into a better situation which somebody else probably has at the moment, and then we will always stay there. That sort of victimized ego that I've had it the worst, that my situation is the worst and mine is not going to get better. If we have that, that's something to really think about.
And that's something to work on, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Now.
No. Yeah.
Right. Now.
I always say that, like, our generation of mothers has to be the generation, or even fathers, our generation of parents has to be that generation of parents that brings about a huge shift into the way, children are raised, because we have a lot more resources and information than our parents did.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Good to have you here, Zenisha.
Good to be here.
Really enjoyed this conversation.
You did. Sometimes when I start talking, I go on a different zone, and I don't know if I make sense or not, but in my head it's making sense. I hope I did.
That's the whole point of this. That's the whole point of this. I'm so glad we had this conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Mridula. All the best for your show. I hope you guys do so well, because everybody does need to listen to conversations like this.
Thank you.
This show is brought to you by Vyasa Media Network.